That's right. Ho, ho, ho. Welcome back, everyone, to the Silver Screen Podcast. It's Christmas! Noddy Holder is opening up the royalty checks. Roy Wood has awoken from hibernation, and Mariah Carey has officially seen her shadow. And if you haven't lost Whamageddon yet, oops, I've just brought it up. But never mind. So... this is going to be a very special Christmas special episode of the Silver Screen Podcast, similar-ish to what we did last year. If you aren't aware, last year, myself and DK, who became my co-host after that, we reviewed Die Hard. This year, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to make a bit of a Christmas party out of it, because we're reviewing the movie, first of all, Gremlins. We'll debate back and forth whether it's a Christmas movie or not. It is. And then we're also going to do some fun things because it's kind of a cult episode as well. And if you've been keeping up with our Silver Screen cult classics that DK has heroically taken on, we tend to throw just a couple of random quizzes and stuff in there as well. So yeah, it'll be hopefully a party atmosphere and we'll all have fun, and there'll be more to this than just a review of Gremlins. But don't worry, that'll be coming as well. Yeah. So let me just share. There we go. And that, as we say, it's a Silver Screen and a Silver Screen cult crossover and a great Christmas special. So did you have a Christmas message for the little boys, girls, and everything in between, DK?
Yes. Thank you from one jolly old fat guy to another. It's fantastic to be here. Yeah, as you say, it's kind of my 1 year podcast anniversary as well. So I've got two reasons to celebrate.
Yeah, it is. It didn't just occur to me actually because that was your first official time was our Die Hard review. Yeah,
it was. If only you knew then what you know now, mate.
I've never been happier to have somebody to ease the burden a little bit. Don't you worry about it. It was a great time actually. So I had a very good time during our Die Hard review. So obviously, otherwise I wouldn't have invited you full time.
Well, exactly. If we hadn't, this would have been a very different episode.
Yeah, DK, this is not the time to tell you. Cue the gif of Jez from Peep Show. Just go, that's not very Christmassy.
Yeah. Followed by the George Michael sadness gif.
Oh, yes, indeed. But
yeah,
no, so
I'm sat here surrounded by my Christmas decorations. As I said to you the other night, it looks in this house like we've just lost a game of Jumanji. So we're getting there eventually. How about you? You're ready for Christmas? You got all your presents and everything?
Well, I'm all set. I've got everything in. Like I've bought everyone's presents that I'm going to, and the decorations are up. The tree lights are currently on. My spare room looks like I've lost a game of Jumanji because all of the stuff is there and not wrapped yet. But, yeah, I mean... I better get on it because, I mean, we're not recording this as it goes out, which will be 3 days before Christmas, in which case I would hope I will have done this wrapping by then, but we'll see, hopefully, anyway. But, yeah, so no, that's I'm looking forward to watching a few more Christmas movies over the next couple of, and however long it is till Christmas. No spoilers. And, yeah, hopefully people will watch this and enjoy it as well, so...
Yeah, we hope everybody out there is having a really nice holiday season so far. Looking forward to Christmas. And yeah, hopefully we'll bring a bit of that celebratory atmosphere with us on this episode.
Absolutely. And as you'll probably have gathered, we don't have a guest as such on this episode. It's just myself and DK, as it was for the Die Hard review. But as I said, considering that we have a bit of a Christmas party theme going, we're feeling a bit celebratory. We have invited a couple of people on, and a surprise or two. So, without any further ado, we decided, first of all, that we would have a quiz like we often do on the Cult Classics, only this time it would be between us. So we invited DK's friend Nick to form a Christmas movies-themed quiz, and Nick, I'll cross over to Nick now.
Well, as with all Christmas episodes, we've been visited by three ghosts, and... on this occasion, it's the Ghost of Christmas Past, which is Nick, who you remember from our DC Top 10 countdown. How are you doing, Nick?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Nice. How's your Christmas shaping up? You got everything sorted yet?
Oh, not even remotely.
That's what we like to hear.
Yeah. I don't have a lot to sort out, but I haven't even done any of it.
Oh, okay.
MO.
Yeah, I understand you've got a special festive quiz for us, Nick. Is that right?
I don't know how special it is, but I certainly have a festive one for you, yes.
Oh, well, it says, mate, it's very special.
We shall see. Hopefully it'll be a bit of fun anyway.
All right, go for it then, fella. What is it that we have to do?
Right. Well, this is the Christmas movie quiz section of the show. So I'm going to be asking you questions about festive films. And by that, I mean Christmas films, films that feature Christmas in some way, films that are vaguely Christmas adjacent, something like that. The links may be tenuous, but generally there'll be some Christmas in there. And yes, so there's a series of questions. Some of them are multi-part, so watch out for those.
Oh God!
And yes, so what we're going to do is I'll ask the question, and then you can type the answers in to private chat just to keep you honest. But then I'll come to each of you for answers, and then we'll see who is right, who is wrong, or if you're both right or both wrong.
Yeah, I can see Mike just walking away with this.
Yes. This is the thing, you see, I haven't actually done any of these quizzes because I'm usually the host, and you haven't seen how competitive I am yet. So we may not be friends by the end.
Mate, I was on Will's Who quiz with you. I know how competitive you are.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Yeah, if you're ready, then shall we jump into it?
Go for it.
Please.
Okay, then. Well, I'm going to start with the most quintessential Christmas film, and that is, of course, Die Hard. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. Don't at me. So yes, let's see. Sort out the men from the boys very early. So what is the name of the limo driver that picks John McClane up from the airport? And if it helps you in any way, he's played by Devorah White.
He's played by who, sorry?
Devorah White.
Ah.
So I think both your answers are in. So let's go to Mike first. What do you think the answer is?
I think the answer is Argyle.
And DK?
I'm also going with Argyle.
Well, you'd be surprised to learn that you're both correct.
Woo!
So it's going well so far. It's an early win. That's for both of you. So that's nice.
We're off the starting block. I can, let myself go now. So at least I've got 1 point.
Should we point out to Nick that we literally reviewed Die Hard last year for the Christmas special? That's probably why we both knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't have got that myself, but I thought anybody who watched Die Hard enough would know that. So yeah, I'm now playing that was a deliberately easy question to start you off. Whether you buy it or not, I don't matter.
We are Die Hard fans.
Yeah. Well, the next one's a bit different. Let's see where we go with this one. So next up is 2003's brilliantly inappropriate, or inappropriately brilliant, Bad Santa, starring Billy Bob Thornton.
Oh.
Haven't seen it, so this will be fun.
Yeah, I've seen it, but we're on about my memory here, so yeah, this isn't going to go well.
You might be surprised when you find out what the question is. So, in the film Bad Santa, how many times is the F word and variations of it used?
Oh my.
Nearest wins. For the record, I didn't count. I looked it up on the internet and found enough that agreed to be credible enough for a fun movie quiz.
I'm going to go.
So, I'll come to you, DK, for your answer first.
I've got 205. I don't know why I added the 5, as if that would make a whole lot of difference, but
you never know. It might be exactly right. And Mike, what do you think?
It's also a multiple of 5. Weirdly, I went a bit more conservative because I think this is really weird, but I vaguely remember hearing that the record for a number of F words in a film is South Park, and it's like 80 or 90. So I went considerably lower and guessed 35.
Well, I might need to do further research on this, but the answer is, according to my very reliable internet sources. 173.
Wow, okay. I should have said that was the record at the time when South Park was released. It's probably way higher now.
Goes to DK on that one.
Remember this, audience. I will not be in the lead anymore after this.
We'll see. So next, this one is a multi-part question. And it's on 1983 Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy team up, Trading Places.
I knew I should have watched it when you
Oh,
told me.
this is gonna be humiliating because I've been telling Mike to watch this shit for months, and I'm not gonna get this.
And you've actually watched it recently?
No, it's on my list. I've not watched it since last year. So unless my memory is whiz, which it's usually a form of whiz, then it's not going to happen.
Fair enough. Well, let's see. It might be easy, it might be hard. But there are several points to be had here. So the first question, for 1 point each, what are the first names of the Duke brothers who make the bet that drives the plot of Trading Places?
Oh.
So it's 1 point for each of their first names. And for those who don't know, the plot is the bet they make is essentially a social experiment about background and privilege. And
if I've got this right, I'm going to be amazed, considering I've just literally picked two names just out of thin air. So if I've happened to hit on this, having never seen the movie.
Okay, then. So I think you're ready to give your answers. Mike, what did you go for? And I believe you just said you haven't seen the film, so that's probably going to make this a bit tricky.
Never seen the film, and I just literally picked two names out of thin air: Clarence and Bo. Yes, that's right. Bo Duke came into my head. Like the Dukes of Hazzard.
Fair enough. And DK?
I've got Mortimer and Randolph. I think that's right.
And you are correct. In fact, DK, yes.
What, on both?
On both, yes.
Oh my God.
Okay, the next question then is probably not going to be a winner for Mike, because it's another point each, if you can name the actors who played them. So I think I'm reversing the order each time, but I might mix that up at some point. But DK, your answer.
I've got Ralph Bellamy and Don Amici.
And Mike?
Yeah, I didn't have that. I picked Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy because I know they're in the movie. So, but yeah,
those are in fact the correct answers from DK. And yes, again, not having seen the film, really an impediment on this one. Sorry, Mike. No it or not question, I think, really, that one. And there is one more part on Trading Places, I'm afraid.
Great.
Yeah, there'll be chance later on to claw some points back. But the last part of the question, before we move on to another film, is how much was the bet for? What did they wager on the bet?
Okay, this is going to be a wild shot in the dark.
I forget what order I've gone in already. So, Mike,
I think I'm first this time to give everyone a laugh.
Okay.
It was for $2 million, clearly.
A fair, those days, a fair guess. DK?
I'm going with $1.
And yes, you are correct.
You don't see.
Which is the cause of some upset in the film, I believe, that it was just for $1.
Yeah.
So let's draw a line under that question and move on to the next one.
Yeah.
So I'm coming a bit more up to date now.
Okay.
Into this millennium, at least. And this is Netflix seasonal delight, The Christmas Chronicles.
I have seen that. Yes.
Fantastic. And the question is simply, who played Mrs. Claus in the film?
I hope I've got the right Netflix movie here.
You have.
So, DK, your answer?
Goldie Hawn.
And Mike?
Yeah, it was Mrs. Kurt Russell, Goldie Hawn.
Yes, indeed. And you're both correct. I believe she played a more prominent role in the sequel, which was another one. But yes,
She did indeed, and I have seen that as well.
I don't think I've seen that
and,
one.
I have to say, hands down, my all-time favourite Father Christmas, Kurt Russell. This should be a nice, easy one, hopefully. Back in time a bit again, to 2005, and the Shane Black directed Christmas set, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Oh, shit, I've not seen this.
I've seen it once, but it was in 2005.
Yes, I'd recommend A, watching it, or B, watching it again. Right, might be an easy enough for you one for you though. So the question is, who played the two main characters?
That I can tell you.
A point for each.
Ooh, even better. I'm assuming you mean the two male lead characters.
Yes. Shane Black does seem to like Christmas a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So I've completely forgotten the order now. So I'm going to go to Mike first. Your answer.
The answer is Robert Downey Jr. and Val Kilmer.
And DK?
I've also got Robert Downey Jr. and Val Kilmer, despite the typo. In fairness, I haven't been drinking.
Well, you are both correct, at least by your pronunciation. And this is a particular modern Christmas classic, 2003's Elf.
Oh, shit.
Okay, good. That's good.
So the first question is, several parts to this one. How does Buddy, played by Will Ferrell, originally end up at the North Pole?
I think this is right, or something along these lines. But, yeah.
This is where Mike pulls all the points back.
So, Mike, your answer.
If I remember rightly, he crawls into Santa Claus Ed Asner's sack and then accidentally gets taken back to the North Pole with him.
And DK?
He catches the wrong bus.
And Mike is pretty much spot on. So, sorry, DK,
Ooh.
you've
No. It's a well-deserved loss.
lost some of your lead there.
Yeah.
You might not like the next question. What toy does Buddy hate?
Jesus.
I don't know this one. This is
it's another
random.
Yeah.
Either I'm remembering this somewhere in the back of my head, or I've just completely gone wildly left of center with it.
Well, let's find out. So, DK.
I put Space Hopper.
And Mike.
I vaguely remember him being frightened by a Jack-in-the-Box.
And that vague remembrance is accurate.
Oh!
You got it.
I was hoping he was going to miss that one.
But yes,
Come back
2 for 2 on Elf. And the last one, maybe a bit easier. Why was Buddy so much bigger than all the other elves? It's not a trick question. I've already forgotten the order again. DK, I think.
I've put that he's half human because I did catch the end of the movie when it was on TV, and I think, yeah.
And Mike?
No, he is in fact fully human, and his dad is the rather tall James Caan.
Yes, you are correct. And I'm afraid, DK, I can't even give you half a point for half human because
No, that's fair enough.
That's
fair enough. See, I remember James Caan as the father, so I thought, surely he's half human then. So, but without the other half.
No, it's not a Mr. Spock situation.
It's not, but nice link. I don't think any Christmas movie quiz would be complete without a question from 1996, Festive Abomination, Jingle All the Way.
Oh, how dare you! That is a classic of the genre.
I wondered if I might have come in a bit hard on it there, actually.
I mean, if nothing else, it's got Phil Hartman in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an Arnie film, so it gets my vote initially. But yeah,
Put the cookie
Arnie,
down.
the question is nice and easy. What is the name of the must-have toy Arnie's frazzled father is trying so hilariously to get his hands on? So, Mike, your answer?
Turbo Man.
And DK?
It's Turbo Man.
It is Turbo Man. Slightly different form question.
Oh, God.
But it's less based on specific knowledge of films and more complete guesswork. So
Great.
good luck to both of you.
Just when I was coming back.
Yeah, I will state that my sources for these are, and I'll use the same defense I used for the Bad Santa one. Looking it up on the internet and finding enough sources that were credible enough for the purposes of a fun movie quiz. So actual figures may vary, but yeah. So
is this going to be one of those guess the closest number situations?
There might be some of that in there.
Cool.
Only a little. The first one is there's a couple of these, by the way, and then something a little bit different after that. What is the highest grossing Christmas movie of all time?
Ooh.
And I've made a note.
Are we talking
here.
adjusted for inflation?
We're talking what I looked up on the internet. And yeah, this one was one where various different sources did all agree on it. So I went with it.
I'm going to have to go with it. Even if it's wrong, I want it to be right.
I'm
It's between three classics, I think. But again, I could be wrong.
I've just had a complete guess.
If not, I want to guess another twice because it's one of three, I think.
Yeah. I was actually I'm assuming not adjusted for inflation, actually, if that makes any difference to your answers.
Well, okay. No, I'll stick with it.
Okay. The answer did surprise me. But yeah, so Mike, your answer? Or I might have gone the wrong order, but never mind.
The answer I went for was It's a Wonderful Life, but I would also like to throw out there, although I know I won't get a point, Holiday Inn, White Christmas, or for some reason, Home Alone is sticking in my brain.
Yeah. And DK?
I also went with It's a Wonderful Life, but my second guess would have been Miracle on 34th Street.
Which one?
The original.
And this is why it's probably important to know that it was, I guess, not adjusted for inflation. Because, yeah, apparently it's 2018's animated The Grinch. Which,
okay.
I'm going to be honest, I was barely even aware existed, if I'm honest.
Benedict Cumberbatch is a far better Grinch than Jim Carrey, I'll tell you that much.
You've seen it?
Yeah, I loved it.
Oh, is it all right?
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I mean, but then I'm obsessed with the original. I have the Boris Karloff narrated half-hour special on DVD and watch it every year. So I was kind of an easy target for them.
So there is a bonus question for this one that I think is going to fall in Mike's favour, judging by the.
Yeah, it sounded that way.
Yeah, bonus point if you can name who voices the Grinch.
I gave it away. What was I thinking?
And I think you may have done.
Your mouth shut.
You may have done, but DK may not have noticed.
I'm gonna just stay quiet from now.
It's just a guess.
I did not allow contingency for that, unfortunately, in my bonus follow-up question. DK, your answer.
Strangely enough, the name Benedict Cumberbatch popped into my head.
And Mike, your answer.
Yes, he's right. It was Benadryl cucumber patch.
Yeah. I'm going to confess to spending a little time wondering if I could come up with something amusing to call them along those lines. And I gave up pretty quickly. So well done, and I'm pleased you put one in there. Makes up for my lack of effort on that part. Yeah. Next question, the penultimate question, kind of. What is the most commonly used Christmas song in movies? And the source for this is pretty much someone who analysed all the songs on IMDb. So if that makes any difference to your guess, I would imagine it would not. So yeah, actual songs may vary.
Again, I've got a few things in mind, but I'm going to guess.
And again, I've forgotten the order. I think it was Mike. What's your answer to that question?
There's a few of them were floating around in my head, as I said, but I went with White Christmas was my guess.
Not unreasonable. And DK?
I changed mine. It was going to be The Most Wonderful Time of the Year, but for some reason, while I was typing it, Frosty the Snowman popped into my head. So I just thought, do it.
I very nearly went with Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas because I know Meet Me in St. Louis originated it, but I can't remember hearing it anywhere else. So, yeah.
Well, interestingly enough, the answer is Jingle Bells.
Oh, of course. That was the most obvious answer in the world.
It was, I can't remember the full list, but Jingle Bells won by a fair margin. And the next one was actually Auld Lang Syne. And I can't remember what was below that, but I think White Christmas and Frosty the Snowman were around there. Probably the other ones you've mentioned as well. There's a bonus point in this one. And again, it's nearest wins. According to that same source, how many movies does it actually appear in?
And you've got to think how many Christmas movies there are over the years. Work out some kind of system and go with. I'm terrible at guessing numbers.
Yeah, it's another one that's like, yeah, that could be anything. But yeah, so I've absolutely no regard for what order it should be in. DK, your answer?
I'm going to go with 64. There's no reasoning behind it. It was just there.
And Mike, yeah.
And I just picked the number 39 out of the. So you know.
Fair enough. Well, I did say nearest wins. Both of you are a mile off, so it seems hardly fair. But the rules are rules. 373. Apparently.
What? How are there even 373 Christmas movies?
Are we counting like Netflix stuff here?
Hallmark crap and stuff, maybe. Yeah.
Oh God, yeah, it could be.
Yeah, it's basically anything that's on IMDb listed with having that song in it.
Well done, DK.
The final question, you may be pleased to hear.
Well, I've lost, but okay. I shall try my best.
Yeah. I'm going to bring things on brand a bit, I think, for this channel in some way, at least for me anyway. Something a bit Marvel.
Oh.
So there's a point for each of these.
Oh, maybe
there might be some subjectivity involved in this, so I'll justify myself later if necessary. Which 4 MCU stories take place near or around the Christmas holiday. And by MCU stories, I'm taking that to mean any of the MCU films or the Disney Plus series.
When does that go up to?
Or special. Sorry?
When, up to present day, or?
Yeah. Yeah, any Marvel MCU film or Disney Plus series or special.
It's a complete guess on my part, but I'm going with those four.
My last one's gonna be a wild stab in the dark, but I've just got a vague feeling about it. Oh, I forgot the. Oh yeah, okay.
Right. So, Mike, what have you got?
Yes. Well, I know Iron Man 3, Hawkeye the series, and Spider-Man No Way Home all do. And my other guess was Eternals, just because I think it's vaguely around that time.
Yes. DK, you're...
Yeah, I got Iron Man 3, Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, Hawkeye, and the last one was a complete guess because I'm sure I saw a Christmas tree at some point, and which was Avengers.
But between the two of you, you've got all of them. But yeah, the four I had were Iron Man 3. That's fairly obvious. Hawkeye, again, fairly obvious. Guardians of the Galaxy, yeah, I thought that was a gimme. So yeah, if that slipped your mind, then unfortunate time for that to happen. And yeah, Spider-Man No Way Home, which could be argued to be slightly tenuous, but because it sort of takes...
It's not really. I mean, he goes jumping around at the end of the film in snow and Christmas lights.
Exactly. At the end, there's Christmas, and like I say, I was counting things that were just Christmas adjacent, so it's good enough for me. But yeah, right. I have Mike with 12 points and DK with 16 points.
Ooh, sounds about right.
So that's 12 and 16. So that we'll take those scores forwards and into round 2 later. Oh yeah. So you've got a chance to pull this.
Would we have done if you hadn't won?
No. You're still mate. We were going to do it anyway. It's
kidding, man, I'm kidding.
And it's 80s movies next, so you know.
Yes,
you'll probably win hands down on that one. But, I'm just glad I held my own against Mike because the guy's a bloody encyclopedia sometimes.
Oh please, I got hammered well and truly. Yeah,
I wouldn't say hammered. I mean, it's not far off. It was interesting, yeah.
My knowledge of the movie really Elf saved me basically from a complete humiliation. Let's be fair.
Yeah, you got some. There were a couple of ones you having seen The Grinch was quite handy as well, but then that turned out to be
I kind of stupidly gave the answer well. Yeah. Oh
well. Thanks for that, Nick. I've enjoyed that. What about you, Mike?
Well, I mean, I lost, so not really, but
Christ, you're not that competitive, surely.
Oh yeah, I'm going to be in a major huff for the entire rest of Christmas now. No, that was fun. It's always fun to have a bit of Christmas, quizzage and a bit of movie knowledge testing. So yeah fair dues. Yeah. Cheers. Means I'm going to have to bring my A game for the next round.
I'm not going to say anything because I'm just going to be humiliated. I can imagine. So cheers for that.
I was going to say I did have a tiebreaker in case it came out even. If you're interested, it wouldn't count to anything.
Go for it.
Yeah, it was just and this is again according to IMDb. How many films have the Christmas in the title?
Well, now we know how many there are. I'm going to just...
Yeah, I'm going to say, 5?
You know how many have Jingle Bells in?
597.
I'm going to go 790.
Oh.
Yeah, that makes you closest. 726.
Holy cow.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and that's just they've got Christmas in the title. There might be other Christmas films like Die Hard.
Meanwhile, look for a Hanukkah movie. You'll find about 4.
Yeah, very true. Yeah.
Well, cheers for that, Nick. Thanks for joining us on this episode. You're gonna be coming back, aren't you, for the New Year's special?
Oh, I believe I am. Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Nice one. We'll all be. I believe the appropriate term is merry, so that should be fun.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah. Thanks for that, dude. And have a good Christmas.
Yeah, thank you, and you too, and to all your listeners.
All right, thanks a lot, buddy.
Merry Christmas.
No problem. Thanks.
Well played, DK. Well played. You took the first round there.
Thank you. It won't last. Trust me. I've been in enough of these episodes and taken part in enough quizzes with you over this last year to know when my ass is about to get beaten.
So yeah, as I mentioned, hopefully you enjoyed that little bit of quizzing, and we are going to go straight into our movie review for Christmas season. This Christmas we're going to be reviewing Gremlins, and as is often the case, DK, you are going to take us to a behind the scenes section on Gremlins. Is that right?
It is, yeah. I've got quite a few facts here. It was going to be less facts, but it's Gremlins, so it's turned out I've actually written a little bit more. So feel free to cut this out whatever you want, or jump in whenever you feel like. It's completely up to you, mate.
That's fine. I have a few in case you don't get to them. I have a few things that I found, but you'll probably cover them. If you don't, I'll get them at the end.
Nice one. Now I'll start off with the word gremlin. The word gremlin was popularized by children's author Roald Dahl. His short story, Gremlin Law, told of a group of small elves that caused unexplained damage on Royal Air Force planes. Now that story was optioned by Walt Disney, but the movie was never actually produced, which is probably good, otherwise we won't have ended up with an episode tonight. Now, the word mogwai in Cantonese literally means gremlin, devil, or demon. Now, the original script, I don't know if you know this, Mike, the original script featured a scene where the gremlins attack a McDonald's and eat the customers, but then refuse to touch the hamburgers. Naturally, it's not the kind of publicity that McDonald's would want, and the scene was dropped. McDonald's then had to wait another 4 years for a scene with non-humans enjoying the ambience of their establishment in 1988's Mac and Me, demonstrating that publicity-wise, they would probably have been better off had the Gremlin scene been included.
Yeah, I'm not going to be on that cult episode when you review Mac and Me. Just
oh, man, it's pretty nice. Now, speaking of things cut from the original script, Gizmo and Stripe were originally supposed to be the same creature. Billy's mom was also supposed to be decapitated, and the Mogwai ate the family dog, with Gizmo then turning into Stripe. Luckily, these ideas were nixed by executive producer Steven Spielberg and director Joe Dante. Spielberg felt the audience would love Gizmo so much they won't want to see him turn into one of the monsters. He was right. While Dante wanted the movie to remain family-oriented, so tossed out the decapitation scene. As fine a line as the movie walks at times, I do think they made the right choice with those calls.
Yeah.
However, one thing which Spielberg thankfully did not get his way on was Kate's speech on why she didn't believe in Christmas. Studio executives wanted the scene removed as they didn't know whether it was supposed to be sad or funny, which was the entire point of the movie, according to director Joe Dante. Spielberg also disliked the scene for similar reasons to the execs, but despite having creative control, Spielberg wanted the final product to be Dante's vision, and so the scene was thankfully left in. Another thing that Spielberg and the suits clashed on, however, was regarding a note received during production in which the execs cited for the movie Gremlins, saying there were actually too many. Guess what, Mike?
Yeah, I've heard there's too many gremlins in the movie.
Yeah, too many gremlins.
I love the response, by the way.
Yeah, Spielberg sarcastically replied they should cut all the creatures out of the picture and just rename the movie People.
I love it. Yeah.
Now, speaking of Spielberg, there are references to other works. Eagle-eyed viewers will have noticed that during the department store scene, Stripe is hiding among the stuffed toys behind an E.T. doll, which harkens back to E.T., in which the creature is hiding amongst the stuffed toys in Elliot's home. The cinema, which strangely enough doesn't have Snow White on the marquee, advertised as A Boy's Life and Watch the Skies. Now, these were the working titles for two Spielberg productions. A Boy's Life was the title for E.T., while Watch the Skies was the production title for Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And yes, the street leading to the cinema does look familiar to many moviegoers, as the town square of Kingston Falls is also the town square for Back to the Future's Hill Valley, another Spielberg-produced 80s classic. The set is part of a Universal backlot. Now, there does appear to be several notable deleted scenes from the movie, but a major one is supposedly seen missing from the home version, though apparently shown on TV in some areas, in which during the bank section, Billy and Kate open up a safe to find that Gerald, Judd Reinhold's character, is hiding within. Gerald explains that the creatures got Mr. Corbin, the bank's vice president, who he was, obviously continually sucking up to, and that now he's the vice president. He then refuses help from Billy, however, as he believes Billy is just using it as a ruse to get him out to leave safety, so Billy can be the new VP of the bank when Gerald also becomes a victim of the Gremlins. Instead, he asks Billy to leave him in peace, to which he closes the door on him once more. Now, I haven't been able to confirm if this is 100% true. I have searched.
Oh, it is.
It is? Oh, fantastic. Because I was going to say, if anybody could let me know, so that's good.
He closes the door and then says to Kate, don't worry, he's better off in there. Is it on the disc?
It's
not, but I did find evidence of it in script form, basically.
Oh, nice. Now, during the scene in Dory's Tavern, when dealing with the drunken gremlins, Kate lets out a genuine scream. Apparently, during the take, a giant cockroach crawled out from the set in front of her, and her genuine reaction was used in the final edit. Now, it was scheduled to be a Christmas release, hence the setting, but was rushed into production when Warner's found out that he'd got nothing lined up to compete with summer blockbusters from other studios, most notably Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom from Paramount and Ghostbusters from Columbia. Now, speaking of Ghostbusters, that movie was such a juggernaut that it eclipsed Gremlins in box office takings in most major cities around the US at the time, save for one exception, New York. Apparently, the Ghostbusters production left such a bad taste in New Yorkers' mouths after closing streets for traffic during filming that the entire island was just over it by the time of the movie's release, preferring Deagle and Company instead. Now, the violence in the movie was labelled as too extreme for the PG rating in the US, though too mild for an R rating. In the end, this movie, along with titles such as Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, as we just mentioned, and the one from a couple of years earlier, Poltergeist, were the reasons that a new rating, PG-13, was established. I believe the movie was given a 15 certificate originally in the UK.
It still is, yeah. I have the box in front of me right here, and it is rated 15 for moderate threat and comic horror.
Now, Dante experienced reactions to the movie's horror elements firsthand when he attended a test screening. Now, midway through this screening, a woman dragged her young daughter out of the theatre, claiming the movie was too violent and was traumatizing her only child. She berated Dante for several minutes, only to find that when she'd finished, her daughter had gone missing. Now, people in the cinema looked for her, but it wasn't until the end of the movie that the supposedly traumatized daughter had snuck back into the theatre and hid beneath the seats to watch the rest of the movie, so enthralled was she with it, embarrassing the mother. Dante found the mother's overreaction and the whole situation so amusing, he made sure to reference it on the sequel during the scene with Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I've got on this one, Mike. Anything you've got, that I've missed that you've got written down?
I do actually, yeah. As I said, I did a very deep dive into this and then inadvertently the sequel. So if we ever cover Gremlins 2, I know a lot about that as well. But yeah, weirdly, the film's sort of original script and the novelization and stuff has a ton of stuff that's cut from the movie or extended scenes, things like that. And one of them is, as you mentioned, the scene where Judge Reinhold's character has basically lost his mind inside of the bank vault and gets left there, which is why he just seems to disappear from the movie, with all of his scenes actually having been cut from the theatrical release. There's also an entire subplot about Mrs. Deagle, how she was forcing people out of their house because she was selling the land to High-Tox Chemical, and they were going to build a plant which would have effectively destroyed Kingston Falls. Now, you can hear a little bit of this in the background of the news report at the end of the film, but you have to really be listening. So yeah, suffice to say, a lot of stuff with Mrs. Deagle being even more evil, and I guess Mr. Potter-esque was left on the cutting room floor as well. And finally, the other thing that I noted in the original script and in the novelization, the Futtermans were originally killed by the Gremlins using the snowplow. I genuinely always think they have been when I watch this movie, but apparently I think it was Joe Dante who decided he didn't want that to be done. He loved the performance that Dick Miller put in for the Murray Futterman character, and did bring him back for Gremlins 2. But yeah, suffice to say that there is again a line in the news report at the very end of the movie which says that they're visiting the Futtermans in the hospital, which is the only indication you have that they actually survived. Because as I said, when you watch the scene, I very much thought they were goners. The only other things I have are just a few bits of information on cameos and things. Obviously, you will know if you are a sci-fi nerd like me that Robbie the Robot cameos in the convention that Mr. that Mr. Peltzer attends, I should say, when he's trying to sell his wares. There's also a cameo by Spielberg himself. He is the man in the electric wheelchair at the science convention when Randall's on the phone.
Yeah, the guy in the cowboy hat is Jerry Goldsmith.
Indeed, he is. Yes, I did have that. And there's also a cameo by animation legend Chuck Jones, who is in the scene with Billy and Gerald trading insults at the bar. And Chuck Jones would return later to provide new Warner Brothers cartoons for the start and end of Gremlins 2. So, yeah, as if you needed any proof that this movie was both a B movie and had all the seriousness of a Warner Brothers cartoon. So... yeah, that's all I have, other than sort of my actual notes and things. So, anything else?
No, but I believe we have some behind-the-scenes information from a very special person, don't we?
We do indeed. As you'll have heard, we are being visited this Christmas by 3 ghosts to this special. You've had the ghost of Christmas Past, Nick, who was on a previous episode. But we wanted to introduce the ghost of Christmas Present. Someone from the present movie that we're talking about. And we figured who better to ask about Gremlins than Billy Peltzer himself, Zach Galligan. So, thanks to the wonders of Cameo and hopefully working technology, here, without any further ado, is Mr. Zach Galligan, the actual star, talking about Gremlins. Here we go.
Hey there, this message is for Mike and DK of the Silver Screen Podcast. And as you know all too well, you booked it yourselves. And you asked me, hey, Zach, we're about to review Gremlins for our podcast Christmas special and wonder if you had any special memories you could share. Also, we're tired of hearing about the Die Hard debate, but is Gremlins a Christmas movie in your opinion? Thanks. Well, let's take the first question, Mike and DK, about the special memories. There are so many amazing memories about shooting Gremlins that I could probably fill a book with them, and who knows, I might even do that. But for now, one that I'll throw out was about 3 or 4 weeks into shooting, and I'm not sure why they did this, because if you stop and think about it, it's not the smartest idea, but they did it anyway. They realized that Phoebe and I were a little bored with waiting around for them to fix the Gremlins and they would malfunction. So we were gifted, Phoebe and I, temporarily, we didn't get to keep them, but we were gifted a couple of mopeds so that we could zip around Warner Brothers Studios in between breaks in the shooting. And if you think about it, it's like, why would you give 2 19-year-olds mopeds to zip around the Warner Brothers Studios when basically all we could probably do is get into trouble and accidents and whatever? Which we did have a couple of minor little scrapes, but nothing particularly bad. But one of my best memories is I can remember there was a break in the shooting. And so she and I ran outside. We jumped on our mopeds and fired them up. And we drove around the studios and we went into the back lots where they shot like TJ Hooker, which was a William Shatner series at the time, and a bunch of other stuff. And I can just remember taking it all in, you know, looking around and the sun is shining. It's a perfect blue sky, Southern California day. You're driving around one of the world's most famous studios. They've given you a motorbike, you're 19 years old, you're the lead in a Spielberg movie. And as you're driving around, you take a look over at Phoebe Cates, one of the most beautiful human beings who's ever existed. She sees that kind of feels that you're looking at her and looks back at you. She gives you a smile like, yup, this is the life. And then you look back ahead of you so you don't crash your moped, and you think to yourself, I just have it all going on right now. Like, it is just firing on all cylinders. And you just drive around. It's 74 degrees and perfect. You have a wonderful time. And then you come back from your break and resume shooting Gremlins. Like, can you imagine? Can you really stop and take that moment in and process it? It's like almost 40 years later, I'm still trying to process that experience. As for the Die Hard debate and the Gremlins Christmas movie debate, my answer is basically this. Gremlins is a Christmas movie now because the public sees it that way. You know, it's not really up to me or Bruce Willis, for that matter, to tell people whether or not Die Hard is a Christmas movie or Gremlins is a Christmas movie. If the people and the public think Gremlins is a Christmas movie, then it is. I don't get to tell them it isn't. And even if I do, would they listen? No. So the fact of the matter is the people decide what's what. They decide what 80s movies are the best and which ones stand the test of time, rather. And they make all the decisions. So is Gremlins a Christmas movie? Well, it wasn't when it came out. It was a summer blockbuster. Is it a Christmas movie now? Yes, it is. So there you go. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Good luck, Mike and DK, with your Silver Screen podcast.
Okay, there we have it. Thank you so much to Cameo for allowing us to do that. And thank you to Zach Galligan for indulging us.
Thank you to Zach Galligan for that. What a legend.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for the well wishes for the podcast and everything as well, Zach, Mr. Galligan. And yeah, just to be on the the side of fairness, do, if you get a chance, check out Cameo, where you can get similar videos and in interactions with some of your favorite stars, as you just saw that we did from Zach Galligan, which again was very relevant to this episode.
Definitely, they've provided at least one of my Christmas presents this year. So yeah, very happy with Cameo right now.
I'm only 10% jealous of being able to stare at Phoebe Cates when you're on a moped having a time.
I refuse to believe there was not one boy and many a girl who was not instantly in love with Phoebe Cates during this movie. I mean, I'm not even going into Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Stranger Things reference, but in this, I don't know about you, but she just stole my heart completely. So I can fully get on board with what Zach was saying then.
Yeah, very, very cute, absolutely, and just so charming. But then again, so's Zach Galligan in this movie.
Yeah,
you watch the central performance and think, how has this had, this chap not had way more work?
Exactly. I mean, I've always liked him as an actor. From this to his latest stint on a movie that you're no doubt sick of me talking about, Mike, which is Waxwork. I guarantee it will be featured in a cult episode at some point. I think he's a really good actor, and I'm disappointed he never got the recognition that I feel he deserves.
Oh, absolutely, fair enough. And before I forget, I did have one other tiny bit of behind-the-scenes information, because it's such a bizarre story, and I felt like I had to share it. If you didn't know, the Gremlins in this movie are all animatronics, which is part of the reason that the directors and producers attribute to their success. CGI probably wouldn't have worked all that well. But for a time, there was another alternative considered. They were going to use monkeys to portray the Gremlins.
Oh, God, I read this. It just instantly reminded me of Nope.
Yeah, until they tried one of the Gremlin prosthetic heads on a monkey, and it freaked out, completely trashed the office that was in at the time. And then Joe Dante, in the midst of all this carnage, apparently just turned to the producers and went, "So, animatronics?" But if you think that's really weird and beyond belief, by the way, this is why I had to share this. There is actually a film from years and years ago where they put a monkey in a Mickey Mouse sort of head and costume. in the island of misfit toys. I think the movie's called Babes in Toyland, and it is the freakiest thing you've ever seen because there's something about the way that a monkey alive thing moves and claps and walks that just makes it look so freaky and bizarre that it's like it's Mickey Mouse, but it's moving like, a live animal, and absolutely bizarre. You can find that clip on YouTube if you look it up, but yeah, I would only recommend it if you're not prone to nightmares. Okay, well, if you're new here, we basically we don't do a sort of breaking down the film scene by scene or anything because we assume that you've probably watched it if you're watching this, but we do kind of just have a free-flowing review that's split into categories like writing and plot, acting, directing, special effects, music, etc. And wherever that takes us to discuss various things and scenes in the movie, we will just talk about them as and when. So,
and if you haven't watched it by now, why are you listening to a Gremlins episode, dude? Stop this. Get back to us when you've watched it.
Yes, definitely go watch. It's the perfect time of year to watch Gremlins, I will say, because it's even more festive than I remembered it being. So, yeah, go watch it. And then, as I said, it's one of those weird movies as well where you can find as much behind the scenes to fascinate you as you do in the movie. So I highly recommend watching the film and then looking up all the making of and everything. Did you want me to start off some information on the writing and the plot?
Yeah. I mean, I've got quite a few notes with regards to the writing, so I'll just jump in whenever you want, mate.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, we'll deal with the first scene, and we don't have to just talk about plot, but we'll deal with the intro because obviously it opens with sort of street in Chinatown and Randall Peltzer trying to flog his wares and then ultimately finding Gizmo in the shop of Key Luke playing Mr. Wing, and then gets the Gizmo sold to him despite the fact he shouldn't have by his little, I think, grandson,
yeah.
Who then in voiceover tells us all about the 3 rules to having a Mogwai. So. Like I said, I don't love the particular trope about that, but I will say I think the acting is great. I think Key Luke is amazing. Supposedly, he was so fresh-faced that they had to put like tons of makeup on him to make him look older.
Yeah, because I mean, he was the star of the Charlie Chan movies from the 1930s. So to look that good, 50 years later, guys got it going on.
And he has passed away sadly now, but it wasn't until the mid-90s, so a fair age. I also love the Gizmo point of view shot, because it doesn't show us Gizmo right away. We kind of just see Mr. Peltzer from within the box and everything. And the only other thing that I was wondering about is why they have the rules in voiceover over like a slow motion walking away shot. It seems weird. It's almost like they forgot they had to include them or something.
It does, but I think it works. I've got a note on that. To me, it gives it a kind of almost fairy tale like quality.
Okay.
I don't know why. It really sticks with me. And for some reason, those opening scenes, I can't ever remember them prior to watching it this time being that kind of beautiful, I guess. I think some of the directions, some of the lighting in this is just phenomenal.
Especially the more atmospheric, like snow scenes and Christmas stuff and things. And that scene at the very end of Mr. Wing walking away is just sumptuous to look at, honestly.
Yeah.
And so I'll go to the next thing that I had, which is obviously we've touched on her, but we haven't really talked about Mrs. Deagle. The old grump of the town. It's kind of, I don't know if I would say that it's a bad thing because of the tone of the movie, but it's quite obvious that she's a ripoff of not just Mr. Potter from It's a Wonderful Life, as I've mentioned, but so explicitly the Wicked Witch of the West and her real world equivalent from The Wizard of Oz, to the point that she even is threatening to get the little dog too.
Yeah, that. I mean, Polly Holiday as Deagle. I mean, she's as villainous as the Gremlins themselves. I mean, she switches between comic relief, even with a death scene, which is still quite harsh. But
is it? No, it's kind of it's a bit comical to be harsh. It is. It's Looney Tunes.
But when you look at it through kind of her lens, and I think this, we'll get into it later, but I think this film does a masterful job of making you laugh. And then on occasion, immediately making you feel guilty for laughing. I think I just think it's fantastic. But I think Polly Holiday, regardless of the death scene, I think she does an admirable job of switching between those dark and light tones, like in the bank at the start, where she's going, "Oh, my heart," and then she instantly switches evil. And then when she realizes, she's done what she needs to, and people's watching, she then switches back to, "Oh, my heart," again,
Yeah, I just think, as you said, as soon as she sort of starts seeing the over-the-top nature of, we can't eat, I'm hungry, and I'm hungry too, and what are you going to do with us? And I'm here to make money. We don't have anything. Well, now you know what to ask Santa for. I was just like, she's getting hers later. That, and I think that's what makes the kind of death scene so satisfying, and why I don't feel super awfully guilty about it, is because it's designed to make you cheer when it happens, because she's not exactly innocent.
It is, but I think in the context of what's surrounding it, and when it cuts to that point of view of the sheriff and the deputy from the car, and you see a leg sticking up on the chair, in the context of everything that's going on around him, and especially, I'll get to it, Jonathan Banks acting in that scene. I think it's done really well, and it's really dark.
I noticed the writing does actually a lot. Well, maybe the direction does a lot of setting up things for later, like the devices that Rand Peltzer has, or the eggs in the kitchen. Showing the devices and stuff in there that they're going to be used later. The bar itself, the threat to sort of dispose of the dog in the tumble dryer, and all this, which is a talk about that kind of violence that you'll kind of be seeing later, and even as they walk into the Peltzer's house, the swords that fall. Again, this time around, I noted that happening and was like, I can't remember, but I'm sure that's going to be important later. And sure enough, it was exactly how Billy saved his mum from one of the gremlins, was using a sword and slicing it straight into the fire. So
there is kind of a lot of not only setting up, but there's quite a lot of exposition, but it never feels too heavy. It's delivered naturally, I think. I think it just... There's something about this movie that just freaking works for me, man. I mean, it's obvious,
it's something,
B-movie material, and it leans heavily into it. But I do think the writing on this thing is impeccable. It is like a dark fairy tale. It's full of emotion, and it's just a ride.
Absolutely. But there's something about, like, you wouldn't think it, but I made a note to just sort of, I don't know why, but it just occurred to me to do it at the time. The first time the gremlins appear and the carnage starts is exactly halfway through the movie, but it doesn't feel like you've waited that long, because everything before it's still plenty entertaining and good acting and good setup,
Yeah, this is my main thing with this film. I think the earnestness in the script, it was written by Chris Columbus, this one.
Yes.
I know it's good, don't get me wrong, but I think a lot of that earnestness is lost in the sequel.
Yes, I agree.
I know apparently Dante prefers the second one to this. I mean, I do respect his opinion, but I've never quite understood it. I mean, to me, this one holds up a lot better. The sequel's simply treated kind of as a comedy. The human characters are, in some occasions, even taken less seriously than the creatures. It's self-referential. But this one, it's got heart in spades. Kingston Falls, I mean, I don't know what you think, but it's somewhere I think people want to live. I mean, it's not perfect. Yeah. Obviously, it's been established by the Deagle angle. And to be honest, I doubt places like this ever existed. But it feels very real. And but still kind of in that Netflix / Hallmark Christmas movie reality. Well, I don't
think you have to go that far. I think it's quite deliberate why they watch It's a Wonderful Life. Bedford Falls is what this is, and like I said, Deagle is obviously Mr. Potter, the kind of grump that's trying to ruin everything, and Billy is your Jimmy Stewart character that's like, you've got more than you realize in life. And it is that old-time American charm of, like, it's a small town and everybody knows everyone, and even if you don't feel it, everyone likes you and they're out to help each other. And
but it never feels overly forced or schmaltzy. It genuinely feels like it's not a perfect place, but you think, you watch it and you think, I could live there.
If anything, I think it actually benefits the film's darker humor as well, because it needs to have, and I think this is for me why the sequel fails a little bit, because it needs to have something to play off to be that clash of tones. So the clash of the sort of sincerity and the charm and everything with the dark humor and the violence is, for me, what makes Gremlins so unique and kind of special. By Gremlins 2, you're just kind of, there is no clash. It is just a farce. It's just a live action cartoon gone absolutely wild, and there's no sincerity and there's no sense of reality or anything. Which, to be fair, if you like that, fair enough. But
it's spot on. You've hit the nail on the head. That it's almost like a parody of this movie.
Which it is, yeah. I mean, they've openly said that's exactly what it is. It's a parody of this movie and of sequels in general. And again, I can see why people like it, because it is just And I can see why Dante does, because he was basically just told, do whatever you want. And it was like, oh, let's go completely as crazy as we like and everything. But it's also a good example of like, maybe that's why you don't give full creative control to people, because I mean, it's a very fine line. And as I mentioned to my friend George the other day, if you've never seen it, the Key and Peele sketch about the writing of Gremlins 2, which you can find on YouTube, please watch it if you've never seen it. It is absolutely hilarious. This is, again, well-worn territory, but I have to touch on it. Yes, I'm well aware the rules make absolutely not one shot of sense, because it's always after midnight. So when does it reset? Some people assume sunset or sunrise the next morning or something. But then again, the sequel has done all the work of the kind of ridiculous jokes and parodies of what if you're on an airplane and you change time zones and then it's after mid. Yeah, we know it doesn't make a ton of sense. And even as I watched it this time, I was like, hang on, you can't get them wet. So how are they alive? What are they don't use water to drink or anything. So
well, it's not just that. I mean, they're all frolicking in the snow. So you can only assume it's water in a liquid state, and it doesn't involve anything that contains, barley or malt like beer.
There is a couple of lines that explain that, actually, that again were cut, which maybe shouldn't have been. If you are bothered by this, I don't think you are. So I don't think that, like, the audience in general, I don't mean you specifically. So I don't think it's a huge loss. But apparently there was a moment where they drink orange juice and somebody mentions that and they say, well, it's not water, it's orange juice. So, it doesn't have that effect. And they also said something about it's got to be, they can't come into contact with water, but it's fine if it's water that's below like 12 degrees or something stupid. So, which explains the whole frolicking in snow.
Right. You see, I thought for a minute that we were going to have to break out the Joel Hodgson gif.
There is still, as you think about it, it is still nonsense, because as soon as the gremlins come out of the snow and warm up, that snow's going to melt and become water. So, But again, I don't think the film wants you to think about that kind of thing, and I never really do until it's actually, unless I was coming to review it and analyze it, I don't think I would care. I sort of don't.
I do like that Billy had positive role models with his mother and father. That they have their issues. They don't judge each other, though. They've obviously got flaws, especially with Randall and his inventions. But they're loving. Yeah. They're always encouraging parents towards Billy, and then his mother takes no prisoners. She's not helpless. She single-handedly wipes out most of the transformed gremlins, whereas Randall provides much of the human-based comic relief with his inventions and conversations with the outside Kingston Falls. But I think it works in that Hoyt Axton plays it so straight, and with, again, going back to this word, such earnestness, that you can't help but love the guy.
I will say I slightly disagree with you on that, and I love Hoyt Axton, and I think his performance is great. And he got like a lot of the actors in this film, like even Mrs. Deagle, I forget the actress's name, sorry.
Polly Holiday.
Polly Holiday, there we go. They both just have an amazing voice that is absolutely like old Hollywood, and it's just captivating to listen to. But I think you don't need Rand Peltzer other than the start and end of the movie. And all of the times it kept on continually cutting to his journey back home and stuff, it just felt like you were cutting away from what I cared about. And I was like, okay, you could probably keep the science convention, because as a big nerd, I appreciate the references. Like, I saw the actual time machine from the time machine, and I saw Robbie the robot and stuff. Like, I get it.
It promotes rust.
Exactly, yeah. But like, you didn't need him getting to the gas station and trying to sell the smokeless ashtray, and then getting to another place, and then at the convention again. And I was just like, we get it. He's heading home. We don't need to. We're cutting away to this for jokes that just aren't landing for me.
You see, I didn't mind that. I think it would have been. I'm glad they cut the other scene in the garage where the old man turns up and the guy is trying to sell him the smokeless ashtray. I kind of like that, because I think it kind of plays off and it takes away a bit of the hard emotion at the end of the film when he comes back to reclaim Gizmo. Just by putting that aside in about the guy at the gas station.
Yeah, again, the film. It's an exercise, as you said, in like exposition without it feeling like it. So even when it does the whole thing of, oh, that Mogwai there has got a cute little stripe on its head, so that they've already identified, like, okay, the one with the stripe seems to be the leader, and they're kind of bullying Gizmo. Even before they've turned into the Gremlins, you've established, like, that one's called Stripe. He's the leader. They don't seem to like Gizmo for some reason, so they're not like the kind of thing that he is.
With regards to the writing, I've got there's some great dialogue and scenes in this thing. And some of, again, going back to that line between horror and comedy, some of them are pretty haunting. Not just Kate's Christmas revelation, but that little scene where Footman's gets escorted out of the bar by Kate and Billy, and he's rambling about Gremlins. And when that Goldsmith music hits, as he's reading that off, about the Gremlins and in the machinery during World War II, it's really kind of eerie.
It is, and it's one of those things where, like the Santa speech, almost it's kind of jarring, and I get that's probably what the movie's going for, but it just led me to think, is this trying to justify like his pain at the hands of the Gremlins later? Like he's a bit of a bigot and a bit racist, and so that's why when maybe in the same way that we're not supposed to mind that Mrs. Deagle gets her comeuppance, is that what we're supposed to think about Futterman, or is it just literally, we need a name for these things, and he's going to be the one that tells you that they're gremlins or whatever?
I think it's kind of both. I mean, I do think there are obviously you've got the bigoted elements to Futterman, who his wife just kind of, I presume, has shut out to a certain extent over the years. So I do think that when he apparently dies at the hands of the Gremlins, because like you, I thought he died. You don't feel too bad. But I do think, again, going back to the exposition thing, I do think the scene outside the bar where he is explaining does set it up nicely. And as I think that it's kind of a, two birds with one stone situation. I do think he's great. I mean, and he's Joe Dante. I mean, he's made such really good movies. I don't think you could have gotten a better director for the subject material. I mean, he runs that line between horror and comedy, I'd say, more than any others, and I think it shines through in this. Yeah. He did my favorite section in the Twilight Zone movie.
Of course,
It's a Wonderful Life reinvention. I thought he did a really good. And I know we've not got to it yet, but there are very strong elements from Jerry Goldsmith's score from the Twilight Zone movie used in this, and you can see where it was going at the time. But I absolutely love this soundtrack. But we'll come to it later.
Oh yeah, we will definitely talk about that when we get to the music part. I do find it a bit convenient that the gremlin at the school happens to eat at exactly the same time as the ones who've tricked Billy into getting fed.
Yeah.
So again, watching it this time, I was like, "Oof, that's very convenient." But again, do I care? Not really.
Yeah. See, that's another kind of, get ready, Joel. But it's another kind of thing. Where did that gremlin go? Was that in the cinema at the end?
Oh, again, I think there's a deleted scene or something that explains it, but it's lost basically. But yeah,
I do like the little bit where he eats the apple. I don't. Have you read that?
No.
When he eats the apple, he shouts "treif" and throws it away, which is apparently Yiddish for not kosher.
Oh, fair enough. I know there's loads of little moments like that where they say like actual things, including I think one of them actually saying "Key Luke" to Mr. Wing if you listen, which is like the actor's name.
I didn't see that. Obviously, you can hear Stripe going, Gizmo Kaka.
Oh, Gizmo Kaka, yeah, like Billy.
Yeah. And who was the voice of Stripe, Mike?
I know who does voices in the movie, but I couldn't tell you which is which. But I was surprised to learn upon examination this time around that half the cast of Transformers and Michael Winslow from Police Academy all did voices for this.
Yeah, Stripe is actually Frank Welker.
Of course it's Frank Welker. Of course it is. The guy does everything, man. He does everything from bloomin' Megatron to Fred from Scooby-Doo to Nibbler in Futurama. So, of course it was. But yeah, apparently Peter Cullen, Optimus Prime, is one of the voices in here.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, the guy from Police Academy, Michael Winslow, who does all of the weird voice effects, also one of the voices. So, and obviously, as I mentioned, Howie Mandel doing Gizmo, just killer job. Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, where was I? The Gremlin. Oh, that's my other big question, and it only occurred to me this time, and it really bugged me more than I care to admit. They're at school on Christmas Eve?
What? Shit, that never occurred to me.
Like, they're definitely at school, and yet they've established via Rand that it's Christmas Eve because he's trying to get home, and I was like, in America, do they not get to, like, finish school or anything until Christmas Eve night? Surely not.
Do you know what? I'm not a kid anymore. I would still live in Kingston Falls, especially if it's going to be quiet around the shops for Christmas.
Fair enough. But no, I do love how these scenes kind of build the tension. Again, it's great that Dante has that, I guess, horror-ish background. Well, not even just horror-ish. He did werewolf movies. He did Piranha, so he knows how to eke the ultimate tension, not show the gremlin straight away, do that great jump scare when it pops out of the cupboard at Billy. And yeah, just as I said, I felt the tension of the lead up to the transformation and of the big reveal. So I thought that was very good. So then we get to the scene of the movie, which is Mrs. Peltzer, Lynn Peltzer, just using everything in the kitchen to decimate the gremlins. And it's just, what twisted mind came up with this? The idea of like a blender, a microwave. She attacks him with a knife at one point, and it shows you it all in gruesome detail, and it shouldn't work, but somehow it really does.
Yeah, I just love the fact that, you know, she sat there making cookies. She hears this noise upstairs, and her first instinct, go for the knife.
Yeah, and even the gremlin hiding in the Christmas tree and stuff like that. It's like, or the shadow of it when she's like just lurking, you know, it's stalking her and you don't know where it is. It's like, it's full on horror movie, and yet it doesn't feel like it because they've got that cheeky tone and the kind of music in the background and stuff going. So you're just kind of, and maybe because it is so cartoonish, so that you just find yourself, instead of being repulsed or whatever, just laughing at the sheer chutzpah of doing it. You know?
Yeah, like, they do a lot of great work with the shadow play for the gremlins.
Yes, definitely.
You know, where you can just see the shadow moving off screen, and you're like, you know, it's there, and it's only a matter of they do it so well.
Yeah, that relates to what I was saying. Like, even when it comes to not revealing it, so that when the thing's transformed and emerges from its cocoon in the school, it shows you like its hand first, or it shows you the teacher reaching into the shadows to get to it, to feed it something. And then presumably having his arm ripped off, it seems like, but obviously it wants to get the PG rating, so you don't see very much. And then again, it was apparently going to be that he'd been stabbed by multiple needles and killed, but then that became just one needle in the butt because PG rating, we need it. So, yeah. But it's still, that scene is still really tense for me when he's like, when you know what the creature is and he's reaching into the shadow to feed it something, and I'm like, don't put your arm in there, dude.
Yeah.
You dumb idiot. We've talked about the Deagle scene at length, but we'll talk about it maybe a little bit later on. Carols and the comeuppance, I'll call it. So, Gremlins singing carols, and by that point, we've established there's no sense of reality, but that's going to only get worse, I'm sure. But yeah, apparently that was the scene which sold. I can't remember. I think it was maybe Joe Dante on what the movie was going to be when he was like, Gremlins in human clothes acting like, they think they're people. Oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Jumping to another scene that I never noticed until this time, or just wasn't paying attention to, maybe. The scene where they turn the radio on in the car and Rockin' Ricky gets attacked.
Yeah, hey, you're not Rockin' Ricky fans.
Like when he starts off and he's like, Corey Feldman rings him like, there's these strange green creatures. And he's like, look, Rockin' Ricky's had enough with this Orson Welles crap. So give it a rest, okay? Oh, what's that? Is it the Rockin' Ricky fans? Oh my God, they're breaking.
Yeah.
That's comedy brilliance, and it's
but then
audio.
You've got that. I don't know if you picked up on that audio clip later where he says Marines are standing by. They're going to turn the fire hoses on them, and you think, no.
Yes, I noticed. I made that specific note because I was like, hang on a minute, that's because that's just going to start it off, isn't it?
Yeah.
But obviously nothing happened. We're not meant to necessarily read into that. But I was like, is that there to give you the sense of like, oh no, don't do that?
I kind of thought, was this a potential sequel setup or something?
You'd think, wouldn't you?
Yeah, and I do like the fact that they gave another reference to Spielberg's work with the billboard for Rockin' Ricky dressed up as Indiana Jones.
Oh, yeah, quite a blatant Indiana Jones reference, isn't it? But, yeah. So the next thing I've got about the writing is the bar scene where the carnage fully breaks loose, and it's again, it just kind of it shows you what the movie is because you have a flasher gremlin, they're drinking, smoking. There's one of them in drag, they're playing poker. The flipping hilarious cool jazz guy gremlin just in the corner smoking a cigarette.
I love
like
he's
fast show jazz.
And this is a microcosm of this movie. He's sat there going, and then all of a sudden the other one comes with that puppet going. It just switches from like kind of po-face seriousness to absolute batshit insanity, and I just think it sums up the movie perfectly.
Yeah, and then the fact that it cuts from there to the Flashdance Gremlin and the song Super Madness as it like dances along in the full-on style. It's just like, what are we doing? This has got to be a parody at this point, surely, right?
Yeah, I just think tonally, it's all over the place, and it should be a mess, but it isn't. It's perfect.
isn't that a perfect sort of summation of Gremlins? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They are all over the place in chaos. So naturally, I think that's what makes the film doing that work. And as I said, the fact that Kate is lighting all these cigarettes and stuff without any problem, then notices all of a sudden that they get scared of the light of it, starts taking them out with a photograph flash thing. But then the absolute key moment for me that sold me on, like, don't take this seriously, is the robber gremlin that just peeks out from behind a corner and has like a gremlin-sized gun and a little balaclava.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, okay, I get it. And we're not supposed to care about reality at this point. Okay. Obviously, there's the idea that, again, quite clever, that you have to get rid of them all. So they establish, they have to go someplace dark. So they all go to a movie theater. So yeah, it's very convenient. It gets them dealt with when you can blow that up and kill them all. But it also still has the sense to have Spike having wandered off so that you can have the final confrontation. So again, very cool, economical, clever writing, I think. So, and you also get the stakes of, like, if Spike gets to water, it doesn't matter how many we've killed, it'll just start all over again. So yeah. The kiss between Phoebe Cates and Zach Galligan came a little bit out of nowhere. Like, I sensed the chemistry from their first scene together, fair enough. But the kiss, as to when it happened, I was just like, now? Really? All right.
Okay, you see, I can kind of see that with everything that's gone on. I didn't know if he's actually going to survive this. So, I mean, you would, wouldn't you? Especially if it's Phoebe Cates.
Well, I would anyway if it was Phoebe Cates, but never mind. So yeah, as mentioned, you basically get the final boss fight between Spike and the others to stop him getting to water. And Gizmo stunt cars in to save the day. This is brilliant because apparently the original scene as filmed, there were 2 drapes to open. Gizmo opened one, and then Billy opens the other one, ultimately saving the day. And Zach Galligan for years claimed, sort of tongue-in-cheek style, in interviews and stuff, that he was pissed with Gizmo for stealing his moment because he got the hero moment at the end, and his opening of the drape thing was cut. But
I do like the Gizmo as well, flashing back to the Clark Gable movie.
Yeah. Stripe's death is super grisly. Like, I forgot how grotesque that was. That's up there with, like, opening the Ark of the Covenant and stuff. It's like, whoa. It already looks horrible the way he's melting and stuff. And then when the skeletal thing sort of comes out of the water and the back of it's still bubbling, like you're not sure if it's actually going to birth something or not. And so gross, man.
And I'll be honest, that brings me to another point. Barney the dog, who is actually played by a dog called Mushroom, is fantastic.
Yes. He is. He's really good. Yeah.
The only other thing I have for writing, and it's more down to a combination of the writing and the way it's performed, but right at the end, where Gizmo says, "Bye, Billy," every single time, it's like I have been and always shall be your friend moment.
He also says, "Bye, woof woof" to the dog.
Yes.
Yeah, I love how the Gremlins sound suitably different and ghoulish to the Mogwai, because the Mogwai have that kind of cute, squeaky sounding thing going, and the Gremlins are all like, like, it's a subtle thing, but without thinking of that, the movie loses a bit of its appeal.
Yeah, I've got that written down as a note. The voices are spot on. The sound design between the regular Mogwai, the Gremlins, just fantastic. Just and you can differentiate, and you can even though they've only got a limited vocabulary, they're imbued with their own personalities, and I think that the performance, everything to me. I mean, we're getting towards the part where it's the FX, but the animatronic work together with the voice performances, you could swear they're actually alive. It's like watching some of the Muppets performances. They're well done, if you know what I mean.
And I think I again credit the direction of Joe Dante for that, because when you read about the limitations of the stuff they couldn't do, and the fact is that you don't know any of that when you're watching it on screen. Like the Gizmo puppet was supposed to have scenes of like dancing and stuff, but couldn't move in the leg area. So he never does. And yet you don't sit watching this thinking, well, that puppet's not moving. And that's why he basically has the car at the end to do the heroic moment, because he wouldn't have been able to run or do anything. You can in the sequel, but anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I've read in an interview that Galligan recounted that when they were made, there were no CGI, obviously. So they were all animatronics, but each one cost between 30 and 40 grand. So when everyone left the lot for the day, security would have everyone open the trunks of their cars to make sure they weren't stealing them.
The last note I have about the acting is that I just have to mention how Phoebe Cates absolutely smashes the kind of speech because, as you said, it's the film in microcosm. It's dark and she takes it seriously and plays the straight man, which is what makes it funny because it is so tonally weird. And it is kind of like what she's saying is kind of darkly funny, but her playing it straight almost makes it funnier. And you know what I mean? It's kind of
that bit where she says Christmas Day came and went, and now all of a sudden you're thinking, oh God, this is creepy. This is really bad.
Again, the writing by Chris Columbus, because the way that he stamps it with the final last line of, and that's how I learned there was no Santa Claus, it's just the absolute perfect, like, yikes. And again, the direction, on the other hand of things, of cutting away to, because you're not sure what to feel at that point, and it cuts to Gizmo, and he just goes like, wow, yikes. You're like, yeah, exactly, man. Yeah.
And this is my exact problem with the sequel, because it undercuts this scene by playing it for laughs in the second one.
Well, just quickly, I just wanted to say, obviously, we've mentioned, but outstanding puppetry, particularly with Gizmo. In terms of directing, yes, I'm a film nerd. I noticed that Joe Dante is very fond of his Dutch angles, which puts you very uneasy, which again is perfect for the tone. So when something freaky or creepy is about to happen and you're supposed to feel tense, tilt the camera. It works every time. The fact that the scene of the Gremlins being born is just such a beautifully directed scene, the way it's overly stylized and it plays that quirky, both creepy and catchy tune, and you have the sort of dry ice smoke and the camera tilt and everything, and I just think it's great. And the same with the scene in the classroom, or all these recurring like visual and audio motifs that tell you like this is supposed to be a bit weird, a bit creepy, and again that's pure Joe Dante basically. Very just atmospheric scenes throughout. As I said, it captures the atmosphere of multiple different things, from a dive bar to that, as you mentioned, like small town Christmas, to this is a horror movie scene, these creatures are being born, to the attacks and everything. And I think it always hits the right tone, which is not an easy thing. The close-ups of them grisly eating of the chicken is another well-directed scene. Yeah, it's so gross, even though they're just having chicken, and the fact that Gizmo is appalled and like refuses it.
Yeah.
And again, the design of
honestly put me off eating chicken.
Yeah, it does, man. It really does. But again, whoever it was that designed the pupil stage and the cocoon, because it is so suitably like disgusting and gross.
Yeah. Inside it's going through changes. Well, like my mother.
Yeah. No, not quite. I love that again, this is a directorial touch. As they're zooming into the gremlin hatching, you can hear the heartbeat on the school video that's talking about like animal hearts or something. Yeah. I've kind of mentioned other bits about they've kept it PG, but Mr. Hansen's death would have been a bit grisly. Slow to reveal the creatures at first. The full-on horror scene when Stripe, I think it is, jumps in to give birth in the pool, and the pool starts bubbling and boiling and smoke appears, and it's kind of like, oh no. My one criticism is the shot of after that when they all leave the YMCA, when they've all been born and there's dozens of them walking, is such a blatant, really not particularly convincing effect. And it's the only one in the movie because it just looks like, oof, it's more than we could manage in 1984, huh?
You mean like the stop motion animation?
Yeah, it's the only time it cuts to that kind of thing. And I
actually find that quite charming.
To me, it just threw me out of it. I think I'd have cut that because it's the only time they don't look convincing. And they're so effectively done with puppetry and stuff in the rest of the movie that it just kind of undercuts it for me, even though it is like one scene. I just would have personally thought, we know that they're there. We know they've escaped from that point later. We don't need to see them walking away in very unconvincing stop motion. But again, I just love the town-wide chaos and the way that that's well done and the horror style that Dante puts onto that. And again, I appreciate the fact that the reason why they have like Invasion of the Body Snatchers and references to these old Time Machine and Robbie the Robot and stuff is because this movie is aware of its B-movie roots and status. And again, that's a little way to subconsciously, if necessary, to tell the audience what kind of film this is going to be. Like it is, yes, it's big budget summer blockbuster, but it owes a lot to those old B-movies.
Definitely.
This is, you could imagine this being the kind of film Mystery Science Theater must absolutely love.
And it's this is probably one of the reasons why I love Mystery Science Theater, because this is the kind of shit that got me into those things at an early age. I mean, this did, kick off a spate of imitators like Critters and Ghoulies and stuff like that. But
Hobgoblins, absolutely.
Yeah, they just don't come close to this.
No, it's very E.T. compared to Mac and Me, isn't it? Really, going back to what
yes.
But, Yeah. So I have a few notes on music and sound, but you said that you did, so I would throw it over to you. So I'm not talking all the time. What did you have to say?
Well, I mean, I've got the sound design is spot on. The voices. Again, weirdly enough, I just put that as often imitated by others trying to cash in on its popularity, which we've just talked about. Jerry Goldsmith's score, this to me is, I mean, obviously we love Goldsmith. We've referenced Goldsmith numerous times just because he's responsible for some of our favorite TV themes and, you know, movie themes associated with that TV show. But
that's I think mainly, yeah.
Yes, I do think this is one of his. I mean, as I said, I adore the soundtrack for Twilight Zone, the movie, which is a Goldsmith. And in the Joe Dante It's a Wonderful Life section, you can see kind of like a pupil stage, as it were, to stay on brand with regards to his Gremlins soundtrack. And if you listen to it, you do recognize a lot of the Gremlins motifs in there. Yeah. But I think with this one, he just hit his peak. I love the soundtrack for this. It switches between really mystical and magical, and then instantly goes into creepy. It's spot on in relation to scenes where it takes the main Gremlins theme, slows it down, and just hits a few notes with it on the really creepy scenes, such as the hatched cocoons. I just think it's sublime. Yeah. And I mean, sticking on the soundtrack, Darling Love's Christmas Baby that opens the movie. It is the song because of this movie that I associate with Christmas. It surpasses all other Christmas songs simply because of this movie. I always associate that song whenever I hear it on the radio, which is surprisingly more often than you'd think in Spain. And whenever I hear it on the radio, it instantly reminds me of this movie and the feeling that it gives me when I hear it, because it just instantly reminds me of that that scene in the town square at the start and all the goings on leading up to Christmas, the snow. It to me, the soundtrack, the sound design on this, it is Christmas.
Fair enough. That's cool. I should clarify, by the way, that Twilight Zone thing is called "It's a Good Life," not "It's a Wonderful Life." Which is a very different movie. Twice you've called it "It's a Wonderful Life." Very different.
we are talking Christmas films here, so you'll have to forgive me.
Exactly. Yeah, that's fair enough. But if I don't correct you, somebody in the comments will.
Yeah. Hey, yeah, if it encourages participation, I'm all for it.
Very true, very true. Any other notes on the sort of music and sound in general?
No, that's everything. Just that it's just chef's kiss.
Okay. Well, I have a few. First of all, it's amazing how iconic, instantly, and sort of stupidly catchy the main theme of this is. Like, as I've mentioned, I've probably only seen this film maybe 3 or 4 times in my life. And yet, as I was grabbing the sort of disc to put in and watch, I was humming that like, because it embeds itself right in there the first time you watch it. And it's just, you know it. And very few things have that like instant recognition factor, but it's so good. And like you said, it's so multi-purpose because it's like, it's the whimsical tone of the movie when it starts and kind of like, ooh, Christmas movie, a little bit fun, a little bit quirky. And then it plays really loudly as they're attacking Murray Futterman and his wife. And you're like, all of a sudden, this exact same thing is like sinister carnage. We're having our own way kind of thing. And it's like, this is so good.
As a little aside with regard to your experiences, I went in the kitchen, I think it was last night, and I'm just getting myself a cup of hot chocolate. And all of it, and the song's playing constantly in my head, especially since watching it recently. And all of a sudden I start going, bow, 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 bow. And I look around and everybody in the kitchen is looking at me as if I've just committed some huge social faux pas. And it's Steve from Gremlins. I just walked out again.
This is where I'm lucky that I live alone. Because again, even as I was having seen it only like a couple of times before, even as I was putting the disc in to watch, I was like, take care, because you might just have a gremlin. I was like, I'm not even watching the dark film yet. It's already embedded itself in my brain. Awesome. I love the whimsical music in the shop scene. As you said, that's kind of Jerry Goldsmith doing mystical and magical. The use of carols, I think, reinforces the Christmasness of it all. The fact that they play like Silent Night as they're walking home, or the sheer tonal dissonance of when everything's kicking off, and then that song that goes, "Do you see what I see?" Just loudly playing over the thing.
My parents have a best of Johnny Mathis CD, and they play it every Christmas, and I cannot hear that bloody song. I cannot hear that song without thinking of this movie.
Oh, I fully get you. Yeah, I would be the same. My mother loves Johnny Mathis, but she's more of a When a Child is Born fan. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I just love all that. And then again, as if to emphasize how little you're supposed to take this seriously, I think it's at the end, but I'm not sure, when Stripe gets knocked out and there's actual like bird tweeting knockouts.
Oh god, yeah,
Like,
it's like
full-on
it is like
cartoons.
watching a Looney Tunes.
Yeah, like they are just one step away from actually putting the cartoon birds like circling their head. I was
Yeah.
like, all right, that's very on the nose, and again, somehow it works anyway. But right.
Okay, yeah. We've been visited by the ghosts of Christmas past and Christmas present with Nick and Zach, respectively. So now we are being visited by the ghost of Christmas future, which is Jenny Starr, who's here to do a quiz with us. Jenny's going to be coming on to a future episode of the Cult show, I believe, to discuss They Live, but that's next year. So, yeah, over to you, Jenny. Merry Christmas,
Hello.
by the way. Hope you're having a good holiday.
Merry Christmas. So far, we're not quite on holiday. I'm still working and everyday stuff right now and avoiding the holiday traffic as much as possible.
Yeah. Right. So I've got the original scores from the previous round. I'm on 12, you're on 16, and they're in the private chat for us to see. So there you go.
Okay.
Okay, cool. All right, so let's get started. My first question is, in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, what does Indy call his sidekick, giving the nod to the youngster's other 1980s film?
Ooh.
This is a complete guess, by the way.
I have no idea, so I'm just going to go with
If this turns out to be the really obvious answer, I'm going to kick myself.
Okay, DK, what is your answer?
I've got short round.
Mike?
I just guessed Data, because I think he was Data in the Goonies.
Mike, you are correct.
Oh, no way, that was a
Calls
complete
Data
guess.
when they're walking through one of the tunnels.
Oh
Oh,
my
wow, awesome.
god!
Data from the Goonies. And to stick with the Goonies theme a little bit here, what is the name of the vampire film that one of the Goonies, Corey Feldman, appears in?
Corey Feldman,
Wow.
also in Gremlins, so that's very on brand.
It is.
Okay, DK, what is your answer?
It's the Lost Boys.
Mike?
It was the Lost Boys, yeah.
Yes, it was. So one for both of you. Okay, next question. This one might be a little hard. What was the real name of the baby who played Toby in The Labyrinth?
Oh, I know this because I've seen him since. Oh. Do you know?
This is a complete guess.
This is so annoying because he worked on the Netflix series and he's in all the documentaries and stuff, and I cannot, despite that.
No, I can't. I just can't. I'm just gonna have a complete guess.
Yeah, same.
Okay.
And I know it. I know this is wrong, but what the heck? I'm gonna kick myself when you tell me the answer.
Okay, DK, what is your answer?
I put Roland.
Mike?
It's Brian Henson. I do know it's the child of somebody that worked on the production.
Well, Mike, you at least have the right family area looking at. It was Toby Froud.
Froud, of course
Toby's
it was.
actual name was Toby. Brian Froud's son.
Yeah, but he didn't get a point for that, though, right?
No.
Nope, nobody gets a point for that. The next question is related. What other Jim Henson movie did Toby's parents meet in while making that movie?
You'll have to forgive the
DK,
typo.
what is your answer?
I've got Dark Crystal.
Mike?
Yes, this was the Netflix series I was referring to. Sorry, The Dark Crystal. Fantastic.
Very good. Yeah, the mom was a puppeteer and puppet maker, and the dad, Brian Froud, was one of the concept artists and co-creators.
Nice.
Yeah, I figured you guys would probably get that one, considering Dark Crystal is kind of like the major Jim Henson film for the 80s.
Yeah, that and Labyrinth are the only two that I know with it associated with Jim Henson, other than the Muppets. So,
isn't the other one? There's one that's like Monster Maker or something like that from the 80s.
I do not know.
I can't remember what it's called, but there's another one where a kid starts going and making animatronics and stuff, and then he makes a giant one that kind of comes to life on its own or something like that.
I must have completely passed me by that one.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah, I haven't seen
this
it
is
since
my,
I was a kid, so I always have trouble finding it, and then I forget about it before I can watch it again.
Oh, no. I will take this opportunity to plug it and say if you haven't seen Dark Crystal Age of Resistance on Netflix, immediately do so. It's amazing.
I will second that.
It is very good. I'm very sad they canceled it.
Yeah, same. It should not.
Netflix.
Yeah. You just have to go and get the comic books.
Yeah, I did hear. Yeah, I heard good things.
So my next question, how many live-action Highlander films are there?
Are we including straight to video here?
Probably, yes.
I think
I am just saying live action, so.
I'm going with...
I've got a feeling I'm either within one or bang on.
DK, what is your answer?
I'm taking a stab at 6.
And Mike?
There's either 5 or 6, depending on what we count, but I went with 6.
It is 5 live-action films. There was one anime. Okay, next question. Might be a bit obscure. It's one of my sister's favorites from the 80s. In Flight of the Navigator, what does the service robot's name Ralph, R-A-L-F, stand for?
Okay, I saw this movie once when I was a child, and I have absolutely no idea.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to make up a really, feasible sound. If this turns out to be right, I will be just incredulous that I hit on this somehow.
Good luck. It is robotic assistant labor. What was the last word? Facilitator.
Wow, I literally got none of those.
Yeah, equally as clueless.
So 0 points for that.
I appreciate you not coming to ask us what we had for ours.
Yeah, I think that's for the best.
Okay, so here's the next one. You two better both have this rapid fire. Finish the quote. Hello, my name is.
Please, this is one of my favorite movies ever. I reviewed it last year.
Bloody.
The correct answer is, of course, Ticka Slim Shady.
Okay, DK, what is your answer?
I'm not going to do the impression because I'll leave that to Mike. Inigo Montoya,
cheers.
you killed my father. Prepare to die.
And Mike?
Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Very good. Okay, and this one will pretty much be a gimme on that one too. What movie is this from?
Come on. One of the greatest movies ever made.
Okay, well, I guess that's a point to each of you.
Oh, should we? Yeah, should we? Yeah, I was going to say, should we read it out? But if they don't get what we're talking about now, I think there's something.
Suffice to say, we both already knew The Princess Bride.
Okay, let's see here. The next question is, in Back to the Future movies actually, they used a popular tourist location in Pasadena, California to film Doc Brown's house. What was the name of the house they filmed in?
Oh, God. I knew this at one point.
Congratulations. You may have found the only Back to the Future question I don't bloody know.
Only reason I know is because my museum tours class took us there.
God, you live in a cool area.
Expensive area, you mean? Day trip to LA, day trip to San Francisco, whatever you want to do, but at the same time, everything's super expensive here in comparison to elsewhere in the world. I can't even afford to have my own apartment.
Oh, God.
I have
This
no
is a
idea
guess
what I'm
because it kind of rings a bell, but I'm probably completely wrong.
I'm just guessing any old crap because my brain just turned into mush and I don't know this whatsoever.
I'm going...
Okay, DK, what is your answer?
I've got Beaker House. I'm probably just getting confused with Muppets for some reason.
And Mike, what's your answer?
It was clearly Walt Disney's house.
It is called the Gamble House. It is made with wood that was imported, I believe, from Africa and is completely illegal to use now.
Great
It is an
Scott!
absolutely gorgeous house. And I highly recommend, if you're ever in Pasadena, California, to check it out. It's near the Rose Bowl.
Ah.
That's really heavy, Jenny.
Okay, here's my next one. Who played Darkness in Legend?
Oh, please. Next question.
Yeah. Oh, shit, no! I pressed the
Okay.
right thing!
DK, what is your
Oh, God, I actually took Bowie in an effort to get there before Mike.
Wrong move.
Yeah, I know what it is, too.
Mike, what's your answer?
It was, suitably enough, the legend Tim Curry.
Excellent. Well done. All right. Here's my next question. What candy does Elliot give E.T. to draw him out?
Literally just watched this at the cinema a few months ago.
Okay, DK, what is your answer?
I've got Reese's Pieces.
And Mike?
Reese's Pieces, yeah. My favorite.
And did you know that at the time, Reese's Pieces had lost so much popularity that they were losing a ton of money at the company?
No.
And because of this partnership with the studios for this movie, it saved the candy. Okay. In Heathers, where does Winona Ryder's character, Veronica, say she's cut out to send her SAT scores?
I'm just going to have a guess. I can't possibly put any answer more embarrassing than getting Tim Curry wrong, so I'm just going to go for it.
All right, DK, what is your answer?
I've put Princeton.
And Mike?
I went Harvard, the other one.
She says that she is cut out to send her SAT scores to San Quentin instead of Yale.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Well, this one should be easy then. What other 80s cult classic does Winona Ryder and Glenn Shaddix appear in?
I'm probably going to get this wrong despite my overconfidence.
Me too, but it's the only thing I can think of.
All right, DK, what is your answer?
Right. I've got Beetlejuice. Here I come, baby.
And Mike, what is your answer?
I just watched this on 4K for Halloween. Beetlejuice. Don't say it again.
Correct.
Nice.
They were both in Beetlejuice and Heathers.
Nice.
Okay. Next question. What 1980s fantasy film just made a comeback as a sequel series on Disney Plus? All right, DK, what is your answer?
Willow.
And Mike?
It's pronounced Warwick, America. Willow.
Hello. All right. So it looks like we have Mike is in second and DK is winning.
Yes, currently there's 2 points in it. Is this? How many questions do we have left?
That's it. We're done.
Oh, well,
That was the question.
Congratulations,
Merry Christmas, all.
Well, I'm kind of gutted about that, but fair enough. Congratulations, DK, with a score of 23 to my 21. You have won our festive season quizzage.
Thank you. It was a very close thing, mate. So
Yes.
awesome. Thanks for that, Jenny. Really appreciate you coming on today. And looking forward to the next episode, which, as I said, I believe is They Live, which will be a cult classic in next season, next year.
Indeed.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. This is fun.
Nice one.
Thanks again.
Yeah, just before you go, what are your impressions on Gremlins? Like it? Dislike it?
It's okay. I'm not a huge horror movie
Can I
or
kick it?
monster movie.
Can I kick it
person.
from the chat?
I wouldn't say it's like the best movie in the world because Lord of the Rings is like my go-to and Labyrinth, so I'm a little biased there.
I'm a fantasy fan.
I am. So yeah, it's okay. I'll watch it. It's not one of the ones that I will say, no, I won't watch that because it'll give me nightmares. I have issues with nightmares, so I can't watch some horror movies, most horror movies. So,
So you're kind of middle of the road on this one, yeah?
yeah.
So, thanks for joining us today, Jenny. And, we'll see you next year. And in the meantime, Merry Christmas. And hope you have a good holiday season.
Indeed.
Merry Christmas.
Right, thanks again to Jenny for putting up a brilliant quiz, even if I did lose it. So, and congrats again, DK, for being our seasonal winner.
Yeah, I've enjoyed that. Thank you to everybody that's appeared on this one, Nick, Zach, and Jenny. So, yeah.
Absolutely, definitely, yes. Thanks, and Merry Christmas to all three of you. So, DK, we just have a few things to finish off our review of Gremlins, jumping back to it.
Yeah.
And we may as well give our favourite character, moment, and line. Then I'll do the audience response, then our conclusions. So we'll start off with who's your favourite character in the movie Gremlins?
I had to think long and hard about this one, but I'm going to have to be honest. And in the end, I'm going to say Billy. I recognised a lot of myself in the character when I watched as a child. And if I'm being honest, I still do. He might be a little naive to some, but he's young at heart, still hopeful and wants to do the right thing. And I kind of hope that I imbue those elements also.
Yeah, I can understand where you're coming from, because being a comic book geek, there's a relatability to Billy for sure. But my favourite character, surprising nobody, was Gizmo. Because, as I've already mentioned, it's just such a great combination of performance, design, and puppetry. But you absolutely do fall in love with the little guy. And yes, it is cool that he gets to be the hero in the end. I think I appreciate all of that. So, yeah, I went with Gizmo.
Nice.
And so, what was your favourite moment or scene in the movie?
Again, it's a tricky one. There are so many good ones in this.
That is, yeah.
I've got two written down, and I'm not sure which one. Right, the runner-up is the cinema scene, because I can't help but laugh at that every single time. But my favourite one, and it's happening back to what I said earlier, it's the opening. More than any other movie, the initial scenes in Kingston Falls make me feel just Christmassy all over, and I can't ignore that feeling. So I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, I can understand that. They definitely do. They do have a very Christmassy feel, the way that because don't it play that song, the Christmassy song, "The Snow's Falling Down"?
That is Darling Love.
Okay.
Can't find my baby, or lost my baby, or something. I had it written down, and now I actually can't find my notes because technology.
I understand that. Yeah, my favorite scene, completely on the opposite spectrum to that. It's the kitchen massacre. Again, I could have picked a lot of scenes, but I love that that's the start of like when the movie unashamedly gets to be what it's going to be, and the shock factor of it at first, but then the show sort of, again, it shouldn't work. And I'm not normally a fan of like gross out stuff or ultra violence, but I don't know, the microwaved gremlin and everything is just so, like I said, you've got to appreciate the sheer, like, they went there. All right.
Yeah.
You know?
They didn't shy away, did they?
Not at all. No. I mean, from the moment in the blender to everything. So yeah, I picked that, but I could have easily went with anything, including the bar scene or the, yeah, as you said, the cinema or anything. But I picked the kitchen scene as the one that has the most impact for me. Yeah. And so finally, what's your favorite line in the movie?
Again, difficult. Unlike last week's where I couldn't find anything, this episode is just full of great dialogue.
I struggled, I'll be honest. But okay.
Really? I mean,
yeah,
I could go with Kate's Christmas speech, Futterman's Gremlin speech. I could go with Wing's line, you know, to understand one only has to listen, or, you know, you do what you do with all the nature's gifts. But I'm going to go completely left field just because it makes me snigger every time it's said, where Kate says to Billy, "What are they doing?" And Billy replies, "They're watching Snow White," and they love it.
That's exactly the same line I picked.
Oh, seriously?
Yes.
Oh, man.
I just said it's Zach Galligan's delivery of it that makes it. It's the kind of deadpan comedic. They're watching Snow White, and they love it.
Yeah.
Yep, that's exactly the one that I went for as
fantastic. Well. I think that's quite up for a Christmas one.
Yeah, completely in unison. But awesome, that's cool. So I'm going to go over to the audience response section then. Excuse me, because I did put out on our Discord and on Mastodon and various social medias. What do you guys think of Gremlins? So let's see. Over on Discord, Mario Bowser 494 Jamie just says I watched Gremlins on Saturday. Funnily enough, overall I loved it. It's not the most deep movie ever, but it is a heck of a lot of fun with some tense moments, great music, and fantastic puppetry. Gizmo is also the cutest thing ever brought to screen. Overall, I'd give it a 9 out of 10. Also, who doesn't think it's a Christmas film? To which I replied, well, it was released to cinemas in July. And he responded, well, that's invalid. White Christmas came out in October. It's a Wonderful Life came out in January. And Miracle on 34th Street came out in May. And no one denies that they're Christmas movies. So, yeah, I think we've established by now, excuse me, that it definitely is. Our friend Toby simply says, I never watched it a lot. Okay, fair enough. We'll probably get on that, Toby. Jimmy has chimed back in to say, oh, and Die Hard also came out in July, and that's a Christmas movie. All right.
So, stop it. He's already dead.
Yeah, exactly. As I mentioned earlier, George White simply responded, Gremlins 2 is better, and I directed him to the Key and Peele sketch about the writing. Lady Vian said, I have big thoughts. Remember how I said I'm notoriously hard to scare? Well, I watched this movie with my cousins when I was 3 years old, and despite the fact that I loved creepy stuff, it scared the ever-living beep out of me. To which I just said incredulously, you were 3 years old? And she responded simply, yep. Okay. All right. From our good friend Adrienne again, who says, from my husband David, this is the greatest PG-rated movie of all time. He was 7 when he saw it. In real life bonus, that time when you realize you do a great Mogwai impression and your friends cannot. And she also says, I loved it too, especially the mysterious store element.
I'm just going to point out before you go any further that Adrienne's coming on the live stream. So we're going to have to see this, Adrienne.
Oh, definitely. Make a note of that because I want to see that. Yes. 100%.
Oh, yeah. That's going in the book.
Yeah, definitely. I responded to Adrienne talking about your husband's responding to it, saying it's the greatest PG-rated movie. I said, I've checked, and my UK copy is definitely rated 15. I don't know how it's ever been PG anywhere. And Jamie chimed in with what you'd already said. It was so intense, it practically created the PG-13 rating alongside films like Temple of Doom, for example. And then she says, Willie, her podcast friend from Blood and Ashes, said he recently watched Gremlins. It's definitely a Christmas movie and that it's great. He actually said it's fantastic still. And Lady Vian, just to clarify, said, I love it now. So there we go. Bear with me because I'm going to check some other things. That's it, actually. So that's literally all we had was from the Discord. Nobody on Facebook or either of the Mastodon pages has responded.
Come on, people. I know it's that time of year, but pull your finger out.
Come on, people. Gremlins, it's a good movie. We should all be
Yeah.
talking about it. So, with that out of the way, all that's left to do is to give our conclusion and our score out of 5 Christmas stars.
Oh, very festive.
Very festive indeed.
Do you want to go first, dude?
Yeah, I'll go first. I said a film that truly captures lightning in a bottle. As I said, the perfect melding of tones and meshing of genres that on paper probably shouldn't work, yet somehow absolutely does. Maybe it's the skillful direction, the perfectly pitched performances, the amazing practical effects, the evocative music, or heck, maybe it's all of these things. The Christmas setting is actually inspired, reinforcing the cheeky and less serious part of the overall tone to offset the horror. There are definitely creepy moments, lots of gross stuff, and a lot of tropes and style of horror. And yet the film uses this almost to emphasize its tongue being firmly in its cheek, the deadpan straight man that heightens the comedy. It's surprisingly festive, lots of fun, bad people get punished and good people save the day. It's a big budget mainstream B movie with the charm and whimsy of the best of them. Okay, it's not especially deep, it's schlocky, and it's as realistic as a Looney Tunes cartoon, but it's perfectly structured, it plays beautifully during the festive season, and despite its subject matter, it's just a delightful and thoroughly enjoyable gem. There's a reason it spawned multiple inferior imitations and a belated batshit sequel. And I gave it 4 stars out of 5. So, over to you, DK.
Yeah, well, this one, I think it's the shortest conclusion I've ever done. I'll just say, I love this movie. I fell in love with it on first viewing, and it was one of the first movies I bought on home media, Betamax, and I still love it to this day. Writing and directing are spot on. It blends horror and comedy like no other. It fully embraces its B-movie roots. The performances are great, with the cast making Kingston Falls a very real place, despite the absurdity of events taking place. Certain movies make they feel like home to me, and Gremlins is one of those movies. More than that, it embodies Christmas to me in a way most holiday-themed films don't. I'm not sure if that says anything about me personally, but, regardless. I adore it. It's a classic to many of us kids of the 80s, and it always will be. And it probably won't surprise you that I bugger it. I'm going to give it 5 out of 5.
Oh, I have no surprise. And again, that makes it quite easy for me to work out the average. It's our first 2-person one for a while. And so the final podcast score for Gremlins would obviously be 4.5 out of 5. Merry Christmas, Kingston Falls. There we go. So, that's I think that's a very good final score, 4.5. We can't really...
Can't argue with that.
No. But all that remains to do then after that is to say we hope you have a safe and pleasant Christmas or whichever holiday you celebrate this time of year. This is our last recorded episode for the year of the Silver Screen podcast, but we will be back on Thursday, the 29th of December. DK, do you want to tell the people? We've already done it a few times, but why not tell the people yet again what we're doing on that day?
By now, by the time this goes out, the competition should be in full swing. So if you're wanting to win one of Mike's goodie packs, please enter the competition. All you've got to do is kind of like and subscribe, and you could be with a chance of winning some Marvel or DC movies. Now, we're going to be revealing the winners of that competition in a big giveaway on the live stream, which is due to take place on the 29th. It's going to be our first live stream. Why I came up with the idea, I have no idea, but I thought it'd be fun. But I'm imagining that if you think Gremlins is chaotic, wait until the 29th.
Indeed. And it's basically going to be a review of 2022 by us at the Silver Screen podcast and a whole bunch of our friends, hopefully. So we will be talking about the best movies predominantly, but also the best TV, music, anything else that comes up. And basically, it's just an excuse for us to see out 2022 and have a few drinks, effectively.
It's the Silver Screen podcast Christmas party, and you're invited. Who wouldn't want to take that one?
So if you do want to be part of it, there is still time to get in touch and either ask us to be on or send us clips of your sort of highlights of the year. If not, you can also, obviously, we'll be live streaming, so you can join us in the live chat or watch us live at the time. We will be going live from, I believe, 6 p.m. UK time on the 29th, which is a Thursday, our usual broadcast day. And other than that, we hope to see you there. So until that point, as I said, have a very Merry Christmas. Have a happy holidays, everybody. And DK, did you want to give a message as well?
Yeah, just to say have a very safe, healthy, happy holiday season with your family, and however you celebrate it, I hope you have a great time, and yeah, all the best for the new year.
We will be back to see you for our live special for our last episode of the year. And in the meantime, remember, in the epic words of Arnie, we'll be back.
I'll be back.
Yum, yum.
Bye-bye.
Woof.
Bye, Billy.
Oh.
You have been listening to the Silver Screen Podcast, hosted by Michael Wilson and DK. Created, produced, and edited by Michael Wilson. Behind the scenes sections and additional material produced by DK. Music by Timeless Journey. More information can be found at soundcloud.com/Timeless Journey. Follow the podcast on Instagram at Silver Screen Podcast, or look for the Silver Screen Podcast under Facebook groups. Links to all our social media accounts and more are in this episode's description. This podcast is available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Just look for Silver Screen, Hit or Miss Star Trek. This has been a Mike's Podcast production. Copyright 2022. Thank you for listening.